Thanks for joining me today
Thank
to
you.
talk about COP26 and its outcomes. What was the feeling in Brussels at Eurogas on the and perhaps what was the hopes going into it first of all, and then what were your feelings coming out of it?
I think with COP, you have a certain level of expectation. So we know, for example, that international cooperation is very important. This movement on the international front is very important, and it can give a lot of momentum. It's fair to say that it's slow moving in some regards. So we see, for example, 6 years for the Paris rulebook to come through. It is a slow moving forum. But on the other hand, when we hear these testimonies, so from various member states, various countries rather, activists, experts, and we really get the feeling of the urgency, I think that's what's important. It's the momentum that comes out of it. And I would say as well, you know, after COP, there's been calculations that if the Glasgow agreements are enacted, that's still bringing us to 2.4 degrees, which is much too much. So we have mixed feelings in the aftermath, but we're fortunate in the regard that last summer we saw the launch of the European Commission's Fit for 55 package, and now in December. So just in 2 weeks from now, we're going to see the launch of the gas package. So we're going into that. We were already motivated. We've seen the outcomes from COP, and we're ready really now to ramp up and optimize the use of gas in the energy transition.
And just move away from COP for a sec, because you mentioned them, the gas package and the Fit for 55 package. You were happy with both of those, with what's in them, or not? What
we've seen from Fit for 55, we're working very diligently with Eurogas members. There's a lot in there. There's a lot more to come. And we always say at Eurogas that a huge part of the effort is coherence. So we're going to be active on the rapid scale up of renewable and low carbon gases. That's towards our ambition to fully decarbonize the gas network soon after 2045. We're calling concretely for binding EU 2030 targets to reduce the greenhouse gas intensity of gas consumed by 20%. And at the same time, get renewable gas to the point where it's 11% of supply. So that's the kind of speed that we're hoping to see, but that isn't just going to happen in isolation. So around that, we need guarantees of origins. We need interoperability, so gas quality across borders. And that leads to the point as well about, if we think about the liquidity that we have on the natural gas market, this has been praised by Acer, for example, in the last year. It's one of the most liquid markets in the world for any kind of energy, the European gas market. So we've got a market that does function well, but at the same time, we need to get the hydrogen and the biomethane in and have that market incorporating those gases just as efficient, just as liquid, and serving the decarbonization goals as well. So that's, I can go on with these concerns, because they are a lot broader, and it does come back to the point on coherence. We need to see action on methane. So value chain methane emissions is a huge part of decarbonizing the network. There we're looking for monitoring, reporting and verification, leak detection and reporting. And as we understand it from what's going to come in the dedicated regulation for that will be there. But then there's more questions. So it's like these frameworks will need to be audited, but we don't have any standards to audit them yet, and we don't have any dedicated body to carry out the audits. So much has to be done quickly, has to be done right. It's a challenge, but we're motivated and we're organized going into it.
Yeah, and if it's got to be done quickly and it's got to be done right, you've got to make a call on. Yeah, are you going to try and do them all at once, or are you going to put them in a list of priority? And if you do, what's top of the list?
There's no option. They have to all be done at once. Like, that's the way that the policy framework's moving. Fit for 55 is already moving through the legislative steps. Those files are in action. We have, in the last couple of months, had this framework, I should say a paper of recommendations already for the gas package that's coming in December now. I don't think it makes sense to pull out one policy topic and say this is the thing that we need the most, because it's a complex issue. It goes beyond gas as well. We have to work together with other energy vectors. We have to work together with industrial sectors and really have a coordinated approach, because that's the essence of sector integration.
Yeah, I was going to say, that coordinated approach. So that spirit of collaboration is becoming more. Well, it's vital, isn't it, going forward? You can't do things in isolation.
Yeah, and at Eurogas we've had that approach for quite some time, I would say, because we have such a broad range of actors from along the gas value chain. So we've got like the wholesale side, the distribution networks are represented there, the retail companies, so the more customer facing companies, and then in recent years, we've added equipment manufacturers to the list. So we're very pleased to have ITM Power sitting on the board. We have companies that provide digital solutions, say for the value chain methane emissions, for blending new gases. And that's where we even go in there to the digital side. So some of those companies are working, it could be satellite technology, AI, algorithms, and that's the twin energy digital transition.
You talked about hydrogen. Everyone is talking about hydrogen, but there are different opinions on. We've got to get to green no matter what, and let's just get there as quick as we can. But I don't know. Eurogas, you've been more measured, where you think, well, there's a whole spectrum of hydrogen colours. So is it about just getting away from the grey and going through the colours till you get to the green?
We have we launched, I think last year in the summer 2021. We launched a pathway study, and we looked at this in detail with experts from DMV. So that was economic. It was modeling for how can we reduce the cost of the transition, and the optimum scenario, it built on the Commission's 1.5 tech scenario. But we looked at how can we build on that, optimize the use of gas within it, and bring down the costs. And what we found was that if we use blue hydrogen, we will use blue hydrogen to 2030 to decarbonize industries. It's manufacturing as a main demand for blue hydrogen. And that's one of the ways that we can scale the hydrogen market. So increase the production, build the customer base, bring down the costs. And the applications don't know what color the hydrogen is. It's just one molecule for the end user. So if we have more demand building the economy with blue hydrogen, then we can bring down the cost for green hydrogen. And in our pathway to 2050, we see green hydrogen ultimately as being the most prevalent form in the mix.
Yeah. You talked about decarbonising industry there, and I'm just wondering, for gas in the next few years, well, where do you think it can be the most transformative? Is it is it decarbonising industry? Is it in mobility? Is it in power generation? Is it in something else?
Again,
or is this on all of the above?
It's a sector integration point again. It is, and we can't put industries or sectors in competition with each other. They all need gas. That's part of incorporating renewable energy as we get more renewable power production in. That's part of the storage aspect that gas offers directly as a feedstock into industries as well. So for buildings, it's very important. If we look across Europe, we see different countries have different energy mix. They have different kinds of building stock. The electricity grid, the power grid varies across member states. So there's a strong role to play there, whether that's 100% hydrogen boilers as are in field test stages, whether it's blending, whether it's hybrid gas electric heat pumps, district heat and power. And that's where even there you have an overlap with power generation, where we have this CHP. And already there we see great emissions reduction. So like Vattenfall, for example, in Berlin, bringing gas into district heating systems, 80% emissions reductions from coal. Fantastic. Already 30% hydrogen blends, surpassing their 2020 target of 20% blends. They've already got to about 30 last year. and the same industry, so the gas turbine sector, committed to 100% coal-firing with hydrogen by 2030. So there's a very clear case there for gas. But then we can say the same about industries as well. And if we think about it from the European perspective, where we have these strategic industries, steel, cement, and it's not just about power for the processes, it's gas as a feedstock as well. So it's just doesn't make sense to talk only about electrification and those applications as well. So a bit like the way that blending helps build the market for hydrogen, using CCS in industries along with gas helps to build and scale up carbon capture storage, which we need as well. So that's buildings is important, power generation, industry, transport is another big one. We've been looking a lot at maritime, and we see with natural gas completely the level of technology readiness. There's already a great uptake for gas engines in maritime freight. And what we can do there is get those immediate emissions reductions with improvements in the gas value chain. We can increase the emissions reductions by 2030. So it's currently 15%. That's the average. So that's if the global fleet move from conventional maritime fuel oils to gas, you get a 15% emissions reductions, improve the value chain and reduce the methane emissions along the value chain. That goes up to 20% by 2030. Start to blend even just 20% bio-LNG, and that number goes up to 34%. So it's very good. It's not perfect, but considering that the sector is 3% of global emissions and that we have that level of technology readiness, then we need to run with that and take it now and still look for more solutions again to get the remaining emissions. Even Mitsubishi are looking at carbon capture storage at sea. So having carbon capture storage on ships directly. And yeah, it's technology that's being trialed, and considering that the Commission predicts 18% electrification in maritime freight by 2050, we have to look at what gas can do there too. So we don't want to put sectors in competition with each other. I think this is super important. Actually, we have to think about case by case, country by country, involve the distribution system operators. There's the role for distribution system operators directly in sector integration, because they can connect to the decentralized renewable power production on the one end, these end users in the others, and play a role in really planning very sensible networks, decarbonized networks.
Yeah. Carbon capture on ships, eh? Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
So, you've had the Fit for 55, you've got the gas package, we've just had COP. Going into the next year, if there's one thing that you were most hopeful for, what would it be?
Going into the next year, well, we do talk about, like we need our targets, we need our framework, we need a good planning system so that optimizing, say, the role of DSOs. But I think all in all, at this point in time, it's so important that we're really looking beyond our established relationships. And on this theme of COP, this is where we see this. So listen to other sectors, listen to other factors, listen to experts that you're not already engaged with. That's how we do achieve sector integration as a core pillar of achieving decarbonisation. So we're fortunate in Eurogas. In the last year, we've started to work with the European Net Zero Alliance, that's ENSA. And there we have different energy factors. So we have gas players, we have renewable production, we have different end users as well. So say paper, buildings. And that's where you bring that right attitude that I believe comes out of COP, of thinking broad, being optimistic, looking for new solutions, and really trying to achieve that in a collaborative way going forward.
Bronagh, thanks very much for your time today. It's been a pleasure to have you and talk to you, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks very much, Kelvin. It was great to join.
That's great. Thanks very much.